Hello everyone, welcome to my online prep. Today we'll start with part 1 of chapter 2, Organizational Behavior. In this session, you'll get an understanding about what is organizational behavior, what are the behavioral dynamics and its importance in organizations, the person job fit qualities and the group dynamics. So let us start with first the introduction. When we think of an organization, two things come in our mind. First is the physical structure of the organization, and second are the people who form the organization. They constitute of the founders as well as the workers. So, what is the definition of organization? It is a group of individuals coordinated into different levels of authority and segments of specialization for the purpose of achieving the goals and objectives of the organization. Like we said, people. It is a group of people or individuals, more than one individual that come together for a same goal, for a shared goal, and they have different levels of authorities and segments. These are the divisions in the organization. Moreover, it is a structure. So structure refers to the formal hierarchical framework, that is, it is in a hierarchy. In a positions, there are different positions in the organization. There are the top management, then there are the managers, group leaders, as well as the workers. So accordingly, there is power given to them, authority given to them, and according to their skills and specialization, the job tasks are divided, grouped and coordinated. Divisions could be the marketing division, sales division, it could also be the HR division. So while most of the organizations, they start with a clear focus on the levels and the functions along with the people who will man these functions, it takes a while before the units of organization get defined more clearly with a firmer statement of its policies, procedures, and goals. So organizations, they have a clear focus. When they are forming the organization, the founders, they would have a clear goal as to what will be the function. But then as time passes by, this gets more defined. It gets more clear to the people. And then the policies, procedures, and goals are formed along the way. So it is a process. It is a dynamic process. Now, we will try to understand how the behavioral dynamics in organizations work. The structure of the organization, if we want to understand that, we can look at the organizational charts. Every organization has their own organizational charts that are simple and understandable representation of the formal organization structure. So it can be in the form of a flow chart or in the form of the policy document that will give us the representation of formal organization as to how the power dynamic works in that particular organization. We can also say it is a blueprint, like we have a blueprint of our house so that we can understand which room is where. Similarly, organization's blueprint will give the proper conceptualization, also a discussion board for further modifications without affecting the desired focus. That is, if we want to make any changes or alterations in the organization, that can also be done because already we have a formal representation of the structure. So what happens here? If the organization chart, it is well drawn, we can have various advantages. It gives us an insight into the organization's philosophy, what are the values and norms. Also, it gives us the hierarchical structure, the line and staff authority, the authority and responsibility levels, the chain of command, the highest level of authority and how the communication works, the line of delegated authority, decentralization or otherwise, as well as the span of control. So these are all the information that can be derived from the organizational chart. Think of it as a flow chart, or we can say as a level of document in which the highest top management would be there, then under that the various divisions would be given, leaders of each of the division, the different workers. So it will tell us how the responsibilities are levels are delegated, the chain of commands are delegated, and so on. So these organizational charts, they need to be flexible as well as dynamic. This is why we stated that further modifications are allowed. If they are flexible, they are not rigid, then as the time comes, the alterations can be made. They should be dynamic, they should be proactive in the sense that according to the market demands or the external effects, it can be modified so as to suit the current transactionary chart. So now organizational charts, they can be of two types. They are the master charts and the supplementary charts. Master charts, it is the entire formal organization. It is the formal representation. Whereas supplementary charts show details of relationships as to how the authority, job roles that are prescribed within area of a department. So there's a major component, and then in these components there are departments that is given to us in the supplementary chart. So master chart is the main chart and supplementary charts are the additional ones. So looking at the organizational charts, we can get an insight, we can get an understanding of the formal organization structure. We can also understand this structure as the main two ones, that is there are formal organizations and there are informal organization. Formal organization where two or more than two persons, they come together to accomplish a common objective, and there are formal relationships, rules and policies that are established for compliance, and there exists a system of authority. So herein, in the formal organization, all the relationships are defined beforehand. On the other hand, in the informal organization, it is formed under the formal organization. It is subsumed in the formal organization as a system of the social relationships that come into existence when people in the organization, they meet, interact and associate with each other. So formal organization is the formal structure and informal is within the organization. Herein, to clearly define the structure and roles in a formal and organized manner, it leads to the enterprise that it is a formal organization. Herein, formal organizations, they have the attribute of flexibility, room for discretion, and a method of individual, how they can recognize the individual talent and capacity. As for the group functioning, they will be channelized through the group leader. There's a group leader who will tell what functions have to be performed, and also the informal group, on the other hand, it is a network of personal and social relationships. Like we said, personal and social relationships. People interact with each other. There can be pressure groups as well. Pressure groups that conflict with those of the other groups. And also, these informal units can actually make the formal organization more effective. How? If the people in the organization, they have positive relationships with each other, they trust each other's opinion, they value each other's opinion, so they would provide support to the management, as well as there'll be a stability, a sense of stability in the organization, and communication will also become efficient. So these are some of the differences, some of the features of both formal and informal organization. Another way of understanding is through the matrix structure. This can be thought of an arrangement as against the usual organizations or structures where there's one line of command. In the matrix structure, what happens is the workers, they report to two or more than two managers. That is, there is not one, but there is overlapping of the managers. So what will happen? It is a result of combining a project design with a functional structure. An advantage is that it helps achieve in the economies of scale. What are economies of scale? It is with higher production, there is lower cost for the organization. For example, when we go to the wholesale market, we will get the products or services at lower rates. Similarly, economies of scale will occur if we follow a matrix design. We will combine the project design. How so? The technical and the administrative managers, they can combine and they can be engaged in the supervision and control. As well as there's the line and staff structure, wherein the decisions will be provided by the managers and the staff would execute them. This is also an example. So there will be several communication channels for transmitting the decisions, and it is considered to be a well-balanced structure for the organization. Now, this will help us achieve economies of scale. Also, there would be sharing of experience and ideas that would be helpful for the organization. After that, once a project is completed, the persons involved will be drawn back to their original jobs, thus ensuring the optimal use of personnel and enhanced productivity. There's also an advantage that we would not need to appoint or recruit new members for the particular project. The same ones will be drawn back to their original jobs. For example, the technical to their departments, administrative to their respective department. It will help us achieve enhanced productivity. And this form is ideally suited for the companies such as constructions that are project driven. So the same managers or the same staff can be put into two or more than two projects. This is the main arrangement of the matrix structure. There are certain advantages and disadvantages also. First advantage is that matrix organization retains the expertise and the management skills of functional managers while executing the project. That is the expertise that is available. It can be applied in the most flexible and also efficient manner to benefit a number of projects. In the usual organizations, the functional managers would be involved in only one project, but in the matrix organization, more than one projects can be utilizing their expertise. Second, these projects, it is a fascinating arrangement for the highly skilled professionals who want to work on new and challenging projects. So they have high experience, they have higher skills, they would want more challenging projects, so they can work on more than two projects as well. The managers can devote her or his time towards complex issues of the project. They can coordinate the various tasks and priorities of the organization, and they need not be distracted by any other detail of project implementation. They are just over the working over the complex issues, and the policies and procedures, they can be set up independently provided that they do not contradict the company policies and procedures. And finally, a strong technical base can be developed and more time can be devoted to the complex problem solving. Thus, knowledge is available for all the projects on an equal basis. The same functional managers, their expertise can be used for the more than two projects in the organization. So there is cost saving as well as greater efficiency. These are the advantages. However, there are certain disadvantages of matrix organization as well. First, herein each project unit operates independently. That is, they have their own policies. There are certain time foundations. It can be hectic for certain workers. The functional managers may be biased according to their own set of priorities. If the functional managers, they are put into a project that is not of their liking, so they would devote more efforts to their work or their original department. It could be a scenario of biasness. People do not feel that they have any control when continuously reporting to multiple managers. Now, this is the staff side. That is, they have to report to multiple managers, so they feel that they do not have any freedom to take their own decisions or give their own value. It can also lead to delay in decision making and create conflicts also, because there is dual line of command. One manager would not like the decisions that are taken by the other manager, so there can be conflicts. And finally, there's difficulty in monitoring and controlling because the efforts are divided between different groups. So it is necessary that a matrix organization, to gain its advantages, it should be created in such a manner that it enhances the productivity. It in no manner reduces the productivity or creates conflict. Another type of structure that can exist in an organization is divisional structure. Herein, the corporate divisions operate as relatively autonomous businesses under the larger corporate umbrella. For example, take the Samsung company. So herein, each department of the Samsung is responsible for their own actions. Like electronics department create the electronic goods, smartphones department is solely responsible for its own action. Moreover, these companies or the divisions may be completely independent of its other cities divisions as well. So this is how the organization is divided into different structures. It is made up of self-contained strategic business units, and each produces a single product. The controlling authority focuses on results, coordinates and controls the activities, and provides support services between the divisions. So what happens here is each of the division, it is created and then they are focused on one particular project. So the functional departments, they achieve the division goals. However, one weakness here could be the tendency to duplicate activities among the divisions. This tendency has to be controlled and it is the responsibility of the managers. So divisional structure can be beneficial for the large companies that have more than one product, more than one product under their domain. It can also be divided according to the regional divisions, and then authority can be provided. So this is the divisional structure that works on dividing the operations. Then we have the organic and the mechanistic structure. What is the difference between two? The organic organizations have a flat structure with only one or two levels of management, emphasizing a decentralized approach to a management that encourages high employee involvement in decision making. For example, a small software development startup. A startup can be the biggest example of organic structure, wherein there are only people, 10 to 12 people who are engaged in the organization. They're simply characterized by low centralization. There is decentralization because majority vote makes the decision. So the involvement of employees is high in the decision making process. And there's also a open door policy. Open door policy means all the employees, they contribute to the decision making. And then there are also examples of the consultancy firms. They are also examples of organic structure. So the independent small business or enterprises that can rapidly respond to the customers needs or changes in the business environment. These are the organic ones. On the other hand, the mechanic structure has a tall structure with a clear chain of command. Herein, the mechanic organizational structure work independently. They are independently, and the managers, they take over all the operations. So there is entry level staff positions. They occupy the lower level in the pyramid of authority, and the executives, they occupy the top position. So the executives are at the top and then the staff positions are at the bottom of the decision making hierarchy. For example, big companies as well as government. Any government is an example of the mechanistic structure. So the president is at the top of the pyramid of authority. Then there are functions like internal security, after that foreign relations, and then the middle positions are occupied by the governor. So this is a simple example of mechanistic structure. This type of structure is based on the Max Weber theory of bureaucracy. Thus we have given the example of government. Bureaucracy is a system of government in which all the important decisions are taken by the state officials rather than the elected representatives as in the democracy. So the state officials. Accordingly, there are rigid rules and regulations and the power is centralized. However, the mechanistic structure has lost its essence with the changing needs of the organization, and now the organic structure is more in trend. So mechanistic structure in which there was centralized decision making and rigid structure, it has gone out of fashion and organic structure is gaining more prominence. And the last type of structure that can exist is the functional structure. Herein, functional structure group similar or related occupational specialities or processes together under the familiar headings of finance, manufacturing, marketing, accounts receivables, research, human resources, etc. So according to the function, there are groups groups are created, and these works that are related to each other, that are common, they are put under one head or one group. So functions are created in the organization. We can say that there are two independent aspects. First is about the people, and second is about their activities. So one is about the people who will perform, and second the activities that they will perform. So there are two streams of thoughts, one on how to organize the activities more systematically and analytically, and other how to understand an individual's relation to the activity. So first is focused on how to organize the activities efficiently, and second how to understand the individual's relationship to a given activity. Now this activity in today's term is referred to as work. There have been two prominent theorists that have given their theories. There is Robert Owen and Charles Babbage. You would have studied about their theories in many chapters and many areas. They were managers by provision. Owen was a manager and Charles Babbage was a professor of mathematics. So Owen, they claimed that the best investment was in the workers. That is, he considered workers as vital machines. So it was a more mechanistic approach, whereas Babbage, they were the advocate of division of labor. Division of labor. So they believed in applying the scientific principles to work processes to increase the productivity and reduce expenses. Herein, these can be said as the organizations, they can explore the best way as to achieving their goals, and they're continuing to do so. Whether they want to invest in their workers more, or whether they want to invest in their machinery or more structural factors, that is upon them. There are many theories that have given the functional structure of the organization. Accordingly, the organization, based on their goals and objectives, they can select which type of structure they want to. They can choose the organic, matrix, or functional structure. Now there are certain points that they need to keep in mind while deciding the structure. As the first step, they need to identify the key activities which will produce the desired results. So they need to decide what activities, what course of action will be taken. Second, they need to decide the classification and grouping of the key activities. There are the management, then international relations, finance, etc. Third, analyzing the decisions that are required to be made at each level, analyzing the relationships between the jobs. Can the jobs be grouped into similar ones? Are they interrelated or unrelated? And finally, delegation of appropriate authority to enable the individuals to discharge their assigned duties and responsibilities. Accordingly, appropriate authority is delegated. So these are some of the points that the organizations can keep in mind, and then they can make their structure. So these are the behavioral dynamics, whether they focus more on profits or quantity, or they focus more on quality. This will decide the type of structure they will adopt for the organization. Next topic is the person job fit. Job fit means that the requirements of a particular job or position, it should match the qualities of the particular individual that is being recruited for the position. Most HR managers would like to profess that their ultimate aim is to provide the right man for the right job. In other words, the perfect job fit. Finding the right person to perform a job, that would be known as job fit. For this, companies, they go to great extents to get the recruitment act right. They create campus placements to get the talented individuals from the particular universities. They create job training methods so as to develop the skills. However, they do not understand that job fit has no relation to the marks of the college exams. Individual might have very good scores that they have obtained in the college, but their actual performance on the job, it is very different. So they're struggling every day to meet the daily sales target. This is a myth that has to be broken that good scores in the college examination would give actual performance in the job sector as well. For that, requirement of skill development is there. Now, for skill development, on and off the job trainings are conducted. And when it comes to learning, most organizations go out of their way to treat everyone equally. But each employee has the opportunity to receive training and technical and other skills, as well as to access incentives on continued education. Here also, sometimes in the pursuit of uniformity, it is easy to overlook the fact that there are individual differences. There are individual differences. People have different experiences and skills as well as perspectives on learning. So each individual that are possessing the varied skills, knowledge levels as well as culture, it is inappropriate to follow homogeneous approach. So when the organizations, they are wanting to treat everyone equally, they are taking up the homogeneous approach, it can not actually be very beneficial for the employees. Therefore, for the success of attaining the perfect job man fit lies in the organization's ability to know the individual training need and to impart such tailor-made trainings in the areas of the skill deficiency. Each of the individual, each of the person that has been recruited according to their own skills and ability, training should be provided. For these, we will see certain terms that have to be followed by the organization. First factor is the forum and environment. Definitely for the organization, if they want to make their on-the-job training successful, foremost is to have an open corporate culture that would motivate the employees to take up these courses, to learn new skills. But also it is necessary that the learning professionals provide appropriate forums and environments for effective discussion to take place. Now, discussion, the most traditional way of providing discussion is the classroom. It starts from the classroom. That is why leaders, they encourage and promote a classroom experience that will allow for a lot of feedback on the lessons, the teachers. Also, they need to conduct the multi-dimensional learning. So, and this is most important when the group is new. So ice breaking should be there. Multicultural background people, they are coming together, they have individual aspirations, and for them a particular positive environment for open discussion has to be created. And such organizations, they are committed to having interactive classes that are designed for participants to work together in group, and they also need to not only dig into the regulations and case studies, but also they need to glean information from each other. That is why feedback is collected and discussions are more promoted in organization. Here in the new method of learning forum is the assessment or development centers. This is used for higher learning, especially for those who are required to handle the higher positions in the organizations. They act as the battery of simulations of work challenges that the participants are likely to face. For example, when you are preparing for any examination, you take up mock tests. Mock tests are a replica of the examination that you are going to give. Accordingly, these simulations are created in the organization in the form of interviews, as to how, let's say, the HR department will be conducting interviews. Apart from that, how they are going to interact with the client or the subordinate. Then there are the fact finding exercises. These are some of the development, these are some of the simulations that are created, and these are the common job simulations and assessment centers. So psychological tests are there, then there are job related simulations, multiple evaluation techniques. This is to produce data on the competencies of the employees, and then accordingly training can be provided in the area that they demand more proficiency. So the common job simulations used in these centers are in-basket exercises, group discussions, simulations of interviews with subordinates or clients, fact-finding exercises, analysis or decision-making problems, oral presentation exercises, written communication exercises, etc. These are some of the simulations. Herein, these are basically designed to produce data on the competencies of the participants. Now, based on this data, the managers, they can understand, the team leaders can understand the expectations, and they can honestly convey to the participants while they were every aspect of the discussion is helpful. Not every idea can be implemented. The leaders, through these tests, they can get an idea about the competencies, about the skills that are required to be more enhanced, and then training can be provided. So this is how the forum and environment should be created for creating the person job fit, for providing them training, and effecting the improvement of a team or group is one of the most cost effective ways of improving the performance of an organization. Next topic is group dynamics. Under this, we'll be studying about the various factors and the functions that come together to form a group. First, let us see what is a group. It can be defined as several individuals who coordinate to accomplish a particular task or goals. So more than one individual, they come together and then they channel their activities through a course of action so that the group goal can be achieved. Not the individual goals, but the group goal. So they help accomplish the important task, and they also help maintain a high quality workforce. Now in today's time, the progressive managers are finding ways to utilize the groups so that they benefit the group members as well as the organization. That is, organizational goals, along with that the group members, they can also improve their skills. How can they do so? Progressive managers today are finding ways. In particular, the groups offer a potential for synergy. What is synergy? Synergy is a positive term that refers to the creation of a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. When the individuals that are working together, these are the parts of the group, but when they come together, then they can create a greater whole. The group activities, the group goal is greater than the sum of its parts. Whole is greater than the sum of its parts. So when synergy occurs, the groups can accomplish more than the total of their members' individual capabilities. Individuals, when they're working individually, then they can produce certain amount, but when they're coordinating and working together, they can create higher quality and productivity. That is referred to as synergy. That is a positive energy within the group members. Now, group dynamics, it refers to the attitudinal and behavioral characteristics of a group and is concerned with how the groups form, their structure and process, and how they function. Basically, the complete information of the group, the attitude and behavioral characteristics of the individuals, how the group is formed, what are the functions. All of this is subsumed under the group dynamics. In the organizational setting, groups are a very common entity, and the study of groups is important study for the organizational behavior as well. Let us see first what is the difference between a group and a team. Although group or team may sound similar, there are various differences. First, group is defined as two or more persons that come together based on the task, activities, interests, etc. Whereas team is defined as two or more persons that come together to achieve the goal, perform the task or project. Group can also be based on interest. They can be the sports group, there can be the movie group, but team is there for a particular project. Goal, the group may or may not have a common goal, whereas team always shares a common goal. The group members' dependency, it is independent. They are not dependent on each other, whereas team members are interdependent. It may be formal or informal in nature when we are talking about the group, but teams are always formal in nature, and the focus of the groups are achieving the individual goals, whereas the focus of the team is achieving the collective goals. So these are the difference between group and team. Group can be formed voluntarily for entertainment purpose as well, for interest activities, while team is formed for a particular project or task. But here we are focused on the group dynamics. So first let us see how a group is formed. So group dynamics is basically concerned with why and how the groups develop, and there have been several theories as to why the groups develop. One among these is a classical theory developed by George Homans. George Homans was an American sociologist and also the founder of behavioral sociology. So he gave his theory that more activities that the person share, more activities that are shared, more will be the interactions and stronger will be their sentiments. That is, this activity was these groups, they were based on the activities, interactions and sentiments of the group members. So the groups they develop based on these factors. Basically, the theory means that when individuals they share a common goal or activity, they will have more interaction and they will develop attitudes that are positive or negative towards each other. So whenever if we are not talking even about the formal group, if we are talking about informal group of friends, so more the time that they spend with each other, they will understand each other's likes and dislikes, the morals and ethics, and then they will decide which friends are closer to them. This is how the theory given by George Hohmann's work. So basically the major element in this theory interaction is the interaction of the individuals involved. Then there is the social exchange theory that offers an alternative explanation for group development. Herein, the individuals form relationships based on implicit expectation of mutually beneficial exchanges. These are based on trust and felt obligation. So it is a social exchange. It is a give and take relationship. Individuals they expect something in return. Individuals they are attracted and affiliated, they feel affiliated with the group if they feel that they would be given something in return. Then there is the social identity theory that offers that individuals get a sense of identity and self-esteem. For example, if we are the member of college clubs and groups, then we have a sense of identity. When we walk with the group, we feel some respect. So individuals they want to have self-esteem based on the membership in salient groups. This is the social identity theory. So these are some of the theories that suggest how or why the groups are formed. People form groups because of likeness, for mutual benefit or social identity. So these theories tell us as to why groups are formed. Now the question how groups are formed, it has been addressed by a famous theory given by Bruce Tuckman in the 1960s. Bruce Wayne Tuckman was an American psychological researcher who worked on the theory of group dynamics, and in 1965 he published a theory that is known as the Tuckman's stages of group development. In that he gave 5 stages of group development. First stage is forming. This is the first stage and it is characterized by some confusion and uncertainty. Why confusion? Because the goals of the group have not been decided, the nature of the task has not been established, the leadership has not been established yet. Thus, forming is the orientation stage. It is the orientation stage when the members they get to know one another and they share expectations about the group. They learn the purpose of the group as well as the rules that have to be followed. This is the first stage. Second stage is known as storming. In this stage, the group is likely to see the highest level of disagreement and conflict. Now, the members they often challenge the group goals. They are not always ready to agree them and they struggle for power. So when the goals are being decided, power is being delegated, there is certain conflict, leadership position during the stage of development. Often the individuals they fight for that. There can be positive experience also if cohesiveness is achieved and they understand each other's point of view, and this is the storming stage. After that, then the next stage is of norming. It is characterized by recognition of individual differences and shared expectations. Now, any kind of conflicts that were faced earlier, they are resolved through mutual discussion and understanding. And hopefully, at this stage, the group members will begin to develop a feeling of group cohesion and identity. They would want to identify with the group. Herein, cooperative efforts begin to yield result and responsibilities are divided among the group members. After that comes the performing stage when the group has attained maturity and also a feeling of cohesiveness. So in this stage of development, individuals accept one another and conflict is resolved through group discussion. So herein the group performs the assigned task collectively. All the tasks and responsibilities that were delegated are performed now, and the members of the group make decisions through a rational process that is focused on relevant goals rather than emotional issues. And finally, after performing comes the stage of adjourning. Adjourning means that the group is disbanded. Now, it is not necessary that all the groups experience this stage of development because it is characterized by disbandment. Some of the groups are relatively permanent. However, the reasons of group disbandment may be the accomplishment of the task or the individuals deciding to go their own ways. Members of the group now often they experience feelings of closure and also sadness as they prepare to leave. If you want to understand the group development, always think of it as a group of friends. How they first have conflicts when they first meet, then what they do is they start storming if they do not feel the group is right for them. If they feel right, then norms are formed related to the behavior and meeting up of the groups. Then they perform their tasks, and after that they adjourn. Let's say if they go off for further jobs in different cities. So these are the stages of group development. Now we will discuss the types of groups. The most common way of classification is a formal or informal group. Formal groups are the ones that are established by an organization to achieve the organizational goals. There are rigid rules, responsibilities, and they can take form of the command groups, task group, and functional groups. Command groups are the permanent work groups and are specified by the organizational chart and often consist of a supervisor and the subordinates who will report to the supervisor. So these are the command group. An example is the academic department chairman and the faculty member. So the chairman of an academic department and then the members or the faculty members in the department can be thought of as a command group. On the other hand, the task groups are temporary work groups. They are created for specific purpose. For example, again in the academic department, task group can be conducted for conducting the tests. So these are temporary groups. Once the specific problem or task has been done, then the group typically disbands. So here in task group can consist of people who work together to achieve a common task, and they are basically coming together for a narrow or short span of time. After that, the task groups can also be divided into ad hoc committees, project groups, and standing committees. Ad hoc committees are temporary groups that are created to resolve a specific complaint or to develop a process. Project groups are similar to the ad hoc committees and they are given us assigned tasks. Standing committees are more permanent than the ad hoc and the project groups. So they maintain the longer span times by rotating members into the group. After that, a functional group, it is created by the organization to accomplish the specific goals within the unspecified time frame. They remain in existence even after achievement of the current goals and objectives. For example, the functional groups could be a marketing department of the customer service department or an accounting department. Next, we have the informal groups. So informal groups can be of many types. There are the friendship groups, interest groups, and reference group. Informal groups have characteristics such as there's no rigid hierarchical structure or power dynamics. People come together because they share common interests. So informal groups can be formed by the friends. These are the friendship groups. They are formed by members who enjoy the similar social activities, political beliefs, religious values, or other common brands. Like we earlier mentioned, the informal groups are formed within the formal organization. Now, members of the organization who share a similar interest, let's say of a sports, so they can go to watch sports or they can play a sport, or if they share musical interest they can join a club. Thus the friendship groups are formed. And then the we have the reference group. It is a type of group that people use to evaluate themselves. So members, they like each other's company, and the group who can form a friendship group, they can be exercise group, movie club, cricket club. And then after that, the reference group, they according to the many theorists, the main purpose of reference groups are social validation, social validation and acceptance. They try to evaluate themselves with their own actions by comparing themselves to others. It has a strong influence on the members, and by comparing themselves, they can see whether the behavior is acceptable or not. It is also related to the norms. Then, reference group, like we said, there are the values, attitudes, right or wrong, behavior is acceptable or not. All of these things come under it. And finally, we have the interest groups. It consists of people who share the common interest. It can be job related, such as an intense desire to learn, or even non work interests, such as community service, sports, or religion. The existence of informal groups in the organization has its own advantages. First, they help people to get their jobs done. There's a positive environment, and they also offer a network of interpersonal relationships with the potential to speed up the workflow or gain favors in a way of formal lines of authority. Also, it helps the individuals to satisfy their needs that are unmet in person's formal group. So these are the advantages of informal groups, and this is how the formal or informal groups can be categorized. Then we have the group structure. Structure is the physical format, or we can say the blueprint of a particular organization or a group. Structure is a pattern of relationships among the members that hold the group together and help it achieve the assigned goals. Among them, the various structures, they can be developed by group size, group rules, group norms, and group cohesiveness. That is, we can understand the structure of a group by these factors. First is the group size. It is the number of people that are consisted in the group. It can vary from 2 people to a very large number of people depending upon the goal of the organization, and the ideal size of the group testifies as to how well the group members, they work together to accomplish a particular goal. Large groups, they can be actually detrimental to the productiveness. They can affect not only the participation but also the satisfaction of the particular organization. The people may waste time by deciding the process and trying to decide who should participate. Another concern for a large group can be social loafing or the ringleman effect. Here, social loafing means when there are a large number of people, then the individuals will try to not perform their responsibility. They would pass on their responsibility. They would think that other person would do the job. It acknowledges that people may tend not to work as hard in groups as they would individually, and this is for two reasons. First, their contribution is less noticeable, and second, they prefer that to see others carry the workload. So they are trying to put their responsibility on others' shoulders. So large number of a large size of the group can be detrimental. Thus, one of the manager's interest in studying the organizational behavior is to learn how to minimize this social loafing effort and maximize the performance contribution of any group. Then the second factor are the group roles. Here in the formal groups, roles are usually predetermined and assigned to the members. These roles can be of the executive, there can be the managers, team leaders, as well as the staff. According to the role, tasks and responsibilities are also allocated. There are, however, emergent roles that develop naturally to meet the needs of the goal. So it is not very rigid even in the formal structures. So group roles can be classified into work roles that are task oriented activities. Then there are the maintenance roles which require supervision and monitoring, and also blocking roles, that is the control. So under the work roles, they involve variety of specific roles, such as there are the initiator who start a task, there are the communicators, and there are also the summarizers, etc. Now, under the work roles, role conflict can occur when there is inconsistency between the perceived role and the role behavior. That is, the perceived role and the action that is taken to achieve the role, they are not matching. There are several types of role conflict. Inter-role conflict occurs when there's conflict between the different roles that the people have. If one individual has the role of, let's say, a leader, as well as they have the role of supervisor, so they are conflicted whether or not to punish a particular staff that are causing delay or to provide better supervision. Intra-role conflict can occur when the individuals must handle conflicting demands from different sources, such as an individual has two roles. They have to manage their family as well as their work. So when both of these are conflicting, then the individual would not be able to perform their task effectively. Thus, group roles determine whether or not efficiency can be achieved. Then we have the group norms. Norms are the said or unsaid roles, and particularly the rules that have been decided by the organization that will tell the acceptable standards of behavior, and they have to be shared by the members of the group. So they define the boundaries of acceptable and unacceptable behavior. Norms can be seen as societal norms. Society has its own norms as acceptable and unacceptable. If the group members or the members of the society do not adhere to the norms, then there is social ridicule that is achieved by them. So norms, they often reflect the level of commitment, motivation and performance of the group. They define how the individual, they will set their own norms. They will determine from the very appropriate dress code, the appropriate dress code, as well as their behavior when they are in a meeting or in a social gathering. So groups exert pressure on the members so that they are adhered and complied with all the members. It will determine how quickly the members should work and how much they should produce. Basically, they create an effort to determine the level of individual roles. Now, majority of the group must agree that the norms are appropriate for the behavior to be accepted. And if the group members, they do not conform to the norms, then they will be punished by being excluded, ignored or asked to leave the group. Thus, norms, they will tell us about the formal acceptable and unacceptable standards of behavior. Next, under the group structure is the group cohesiveness. It refers to the bonding of the group members and their desire to remain a part of the group. Whether the group members are identifying with the group, whether they want to coordinate their efforts, it will be determined by the group cohesiveness or the group closeness, how close the members are with each other. Generally speaking, the more difficult it is to obtain group membership, the more cohesive the group is, and the group tends to become more cohesive when they are in intense competition with other groups or they face a serious external threat to survival. So when a group is more cohesive, they would be facing competition with other groups as well. So cohesiveness in work groups has many positive effects, including work satisfaction, low turnover and absenteeism, and as well as there is high productivity. So when the members, they feel connected to their group, they would be more productive. Evidence suggests that groups typically outperform individuals when the tasks involved require a variety of skills, experience, and decision making. Many organizations also see that there are decision making as well as motivational aspects when the group has higher cohesiveness. So, decision making and problem solving activities leading to empowerment and increased productivity. However, in order to maintain and ensure better group cohesiveness, the social loafing concept should be checked periodically and corrective action should be taken on an ongoing basis. Now, one of the newest areas that the organizations are delving into to help facilitate the successful group discussions is the web networks. Now, the group activities of the 21st centuries are being conducted on the internet. Every major activity today has a web network of people with common interests sharing views through a vast cyberspace. The most popular of them are Yahoo, Google groups, then there are Facebook and LinkedIn, and these have all become powerful groups in their own Right. Now the HR community in India alone has over 100 such groups, while everything on internet in the HR is shared and discussed. If we talk about LinkedIn, we can simply post a job opening. We can also apply for a job opening at the same platform. Many organizations, especially the IT giants, have a healthy internal network on the web that acts as a formal and informal discussion board as well. So now this story, it goes well with Infosys chat room. You would have heard about this. Infosys chat room is there, and a long series of discussions on the canteen as well as the type of food that will be served to the authority. All these important topics are discussed. While going online has major advantages from the traditional group dynamics point of view, they have certain disadvantages as well. They have come to negate the advantages of the formal group meetings. There are situations of frauds that are occurring on the internet. There's confidentiality breach, and we need to do a lot with how we can receive the information and interpret it so that more efficient forms of communication can be achieved. So group dynamics through the social networks are useful in the organization so long as they're governed by a set of ethical rules that are framed by the concerned organization, and the people in such groups function within the boundaries of such rules. So it is very important that groups, useful organization, they use the network if and only they have this proper board approved policy. And the last factor of group dynamics is the group effectiveness. Bringing together a group or team to address a problem or develop a solution is never easy, but talent managers, they can create more successful, powerful groups by focusing on the purpose. The purpose can be both of the individual as well as the group. So generally, group effectiveness is the capacity of a group to accomplish the goals or objectives administered by an authorized personnel or the organization. So, by the very definition, group has the aim to work towards achieving a common goal, while the group consists of people that have individual differences. These will largely affect the group effectiveness. Hence, the measures of effectiveness of a group depends largely on the characteristics of a group and its activities that are productivity, satisfaction, attitudes, attendance, retention, learning and adaptation, physical as well as mental well-being. So, viewing the group effectiveness from the administrative angle, group effectiveness also largely depends on the control and predictability. How the leaders, they can control actions, how they can predict the future profitability, or if there is any need, then they can control or change particular activities. Herein there are many ways that the groups can exert control over the members. And then finally, an important factor which affects control and effectiveness in a group is also group norms. We have already discussed the groups are the shared expectations about behavior. They will envisage as to how the group members ought to behave. So these are all the factors that will determine the group dynamics. What are the group size, the group norms, how effective is the group, what is the level of group cohesiveness, how much trust the individuals have on each other. It will in turn determine how effectively they are able to achieve the common goals of the organization. With this, we have come to the end of this lesson. Keep learning with us. Thank you.